So a theme you'll hear me repeat again and again is that I wish McFarlane would have gone completely the opposite direction with this line. Instead of going to a very low-end line, I would have stayed with what the traditional superpowers line was, and I still remember it being fairly expensive compared to G.I. Joe and Star Wars back in the day, was to go to a much higher-end line. And honestly, I would have gone very, very, very high-end. So instead of maybe $10 per figure, I would have gone to an online-only model, and I would have sold a $30 plus figure instead. That probably would have given them higher profit margin at about the same amount of volume. If you see how the shelves are clogged in Walmart, it doesn't seem like they're doing a lot on the mass retail front, but they could definitely get the value out of us collectors by giving us high-end sculpts. Some people won't agree with that, but what would be nice about that is that you get things like interchangeable hands. You could get even better sculpting potentially. You could get really, really cool accessories and weapons to come along with the figures. Maybe even secret identity heads that could be swapped out. Those are the kind of things you could do with a much higher end line, and it would fit sort of more the collector sensibility at this point. That being said, there are a couple of cool things with the new line that came out in this last wave. A couple of things that are still a concern, and we'll just have to see over time how things play out. But the highlight of this wave was the new Batman and Robin. The Batman sculpt much closer in size to what we expected originally. I'll show you that comparison in a minute. Head sculpt is very, very good, kind of resembling the Dark Knight Batman from the 1970s that Toy Otter and, not Toy Otter, but Multiversity recently did a sculpt of that, that hopefully they got some inspiration from and decided to do the same thing with sort of the black accents on the mask. Robin figure, Tim Drake, very cool as well. You can see both of them here. I did not use McFarlane capes. I actually used Cape Master capes because they just add so much more to each figure. And you'll see here that Batman in particular, very, very close to the original figure. You're gonna see me compare him here to an RB Customs Batman. And Batman is just slightly, sorry, let me put it over here. RB Customs Batman, and you'll see here that, I'm gonna move these out of the way. RB Customs Batman is just, that's what happens when you play with your figures. Just a little bit taller, not too far off from the original Batman. And actually, if you put them face to face, they're almost dead on, but Batman may just be a hair, new Batman from McFarlane may just be a hair taller. Love what they've done here with this, and what I'm hoping is that this is the signal of a rescaling of the line. When you look at figures like, Wonder Woman, of course, over here, this was the third version we received of this figure, I believe. And Aquaman looks like he might have been designed earlier, but Batman and Robin, I'm hoping, are part of a newly scaled figure line. I think there were some concerns early on. They weren't going to match the scale, and there's still, that concern still exists. Who knows, they're contractually not able to do that because of Spin Master, but you can certainly see where they've been able to get smaller scales here than they did previously. So we might be in the middle of a bit of rescaling. At least that's what we can hope for. The Wonder Woman figure, well, let's actually take a look at Robin before we go any further. So Robin, many of you remember the Tim Drake version from the early 90s. This is still a really cool figure in many ways, the old 90s Kenner one. It's funny because I hear a lot of people complain about the head sculpt from the new one, and I don't think it's that bad personally, and I like the green mask. I think it's kind of a cool addition. You'll see back in the 80s and 90s, there were a lot of Robin masks that could have gone either way. They could have gone black, they could have gone green. So we get the green version here, and we kind of get this cool sort of lime green version of Robin. And we know we've already seen pictures of the one we'll be getting in a few months, which will be more of the darker tone, darker color Robin, which I think has the black mask instead. But it's funny, if you look at this compared to the old Kenner head sculpt, which is probably one of the worst Kenner head sculpts of all time, I definitely think the McFarlane one's an improvement. I did love some cool things about this. I loved the dark tones. I loved the gold on the old one, but I really like this fun yellow, red, and green design from the new one. So excited that we finally got Tim Drake realized as part of the Superpowers line. Aquaman has received quite a few complaints, and I think it's easy to see why at this point. One, super overscaled, just huge compared to the previous figure, and definitely needs to be scaled down a bit. There are some complaints about the hair and about the shade or the beard, but I'm not as concerned about those as I am just completely out of scale with this line. The trident is also kind of, you know, silly looking, cheesy, and for a few cents more, they probably could have had a really nice, cool gold finish to this that would have made it look a lot better. But we can actually take a look at him now with a villain that we waited for a long time. So exciting to get Black Manta, excited to get Black Manta in this line. These two scale together very, very well. So this is the RB Customs Aquaman, but scales very nicely with this version of Black Manta. And have been waiting a long time to get this figure, those of us who were big Super Friends figures back in the day. Love the helmet, of course. You know, he's always had the oversized neck, which is kind of interesting. And not sure if these parts were reused from the Flash or Green Lantern from the earlier lines, but I really like what they've done here. Love that he has the breathing backpack apparatus attached very nicely, and I'm guessing there'll be some of these parts used in the future if he's not part of a descaling that takes place. So this one also seems like it is a slightly rescaled figure. Like I said, if these parts weren't reused, this might be part of something we're seeing, which is, hey, let's hopefully we get some figures that are more in scale with the original line. And of course, we already know about Wonder Woman. You'll see it here with the, I should have put the Cape Master cape on her, but I did have Cape Master's lasso at least. I don't love the cape on this. I like it much better when it's off. So again, Wonder Woman much more traditionally in sync with the DC colors. This is the one that is supposed to look like the old school Wonder Woman. You know, again, you'll hear complaints about the sculpt. You've heard that from the very beginning on that one. I don't know that I necessarily have complaints with the sculpt. I just really have complaints about the scale and hope that gets fixed. So these figures, you know, again, cool that we're finally able to get a rescale Batman and that we finally have Tim Drake added to the line. It would be great if we can get, some of the other new figures. You can see some of the new ones that are coming out in the next few months in Q4, like Flash and a couple of versions of Flash. Those look like they're still scaled off the old version of Flash. So it'll be a while probably before we can see if this rescaling has taken place, because McFarlane has not acknowledged it publicly, and I'm not quite sure, again, if they ever will or if things will ever truly change. But it would be nice to get a line that is kind of synced up with the old line. So again, that's wave 4. We got a few new figures, a couple new sculpts, and you know, some exciting things, but overall a mixed bag. So feel free to subscribe to the channel and leave your comments below. Thanks.